Welcome to the exercise panel where you create, edit, and practice your custom patterns. First, toggle the metronome click track on or off with the click track button. Then set your tempo by dragging the slider or typing your desired beats per minute into the tempo field. If you enable auto increase, Tessitura will automatically restart the exercise at a faster tempo, adding your chosen increment each time until it reaches the maximum tempo you specified. Rename the exercise anytime by tapping anywhere on the score. Tap Suggest Title to have Tessitura generate a name based on your current scale and exercise settings. If you are saving your work for later, add tags to make it easy to find, then choose OK to continue, or OK and Save to store it in your catalog. You will see your new title appear, and a subtitle reflecting your scale and upper structure will be generated automatically. A pattern subtitle on the right displays the bar count, step skip pattern, and rhythmic pattern. You can hide it by opening the Staff Preferences panel inside the Settings menu and toggling off Show Pattern Subtitle. Hit play to start practicing and use the Resize slider to adjust the score's size. Tessitura ensures it always fits in your window, scaling down automatically if needed. All exercise parameters live in the Exercise menu, but remember that your scale, chord, and upper structures come from the Circle of Fifths panel. You cannot change them here. If you need a refresher, watch the Circle of Fifths tutorial. In the Edit menu, you build your step skip and rhythmic patterns. Press the MIDI button to record patterns from an external device, or edit them manually here. Choose a time signature, then use the swing slider to add groove to your eighth notes. Tessitura automatically applies swing when you load a groove that includes swing, but you can override it. Also, if you enable auto adjust, Tessitura will fine-tune your swing amount as the tempo changes, because faster tempos usually need less swing. Next, tap the Rhythmic Pattern button to load any of the preset grooves, or enter your own rhythm manually using the letter E for eighth notes, Q for quarter notes, H for half notes, and S for 16th notes. To create dotted rhythms, prefix the note letter with D. For example, DQ spells dotted quarter. Dotted 16th rhythms are not supported. To enter an eighth note triplet, type TE, TE, TE in sequence. To add a rest, prefix with R. For example, RQ means quarter rest. You can shift the starting note using the Shift Start button. Choose center to begin on the first downbeat. Choose pickup to add an eighth note pickup. Or choose delayed eighth to delay the pattern start by an eighth note. Tessitura uses step skip patterns to generate notes from your current scale or upper structure. By default, the first note is always the root of the scale. For example, if you have the C major scale selected and you enter the number 1, Tessitura creates an ascending C major scale. Tessitura chooses the octave based on your instrument selection and its range in the instrument panel. The pattern repeats to fill your instrument's range, then switches to a reverse of the pattern and continues until it fills the total length you set in the bar count menu. You define patterns by entering numbers separated by commas. A number 1 means the next note in the scale. A number -1 means the previous note. A number 2 means skip 1 scale degree up. A number 3 means skip 2 scale degrees up, and so on. For example, 1, -1 alternates up and down by 1 step. 1, 2, -1 means up 1, skip 1, then down 1. If you want to use one of the preset patterns, tap on this button. Use the Start Note slider to begin on a different degree. 1 is the root, 2 is the second degree, and so on. You can add enclosures to the first note of each pattern iteration. Enable colors and staff preferences to see red note heads marking those first notes. When the pattern is a single 1, every note is red. When the pattern is 1, 2, -1, the red note appears every 3 notes. There are 2 types of approach tones, chromatic and diatonic, and each can approach from below or above. Use lowercase letters to indicate chromatic approach and uppercase letters to indicate diatonic approach. The letter B means approach from below, and the letter A means approach from above. For example, typing B before the note adds a chromatic approach from below. Typing A adds the next scale note from above. You can also use numbers, 1 or -1 for chromatic approaches, and 2 or -2 for diatonic approaches. You can stack approaches by entering multiple values separated by commas. For example, -1, -1, -1 applies a triple chromatic approach before each first note. Remember that step skip and rhythmic patterns run independently. When they have different lengths, they create shifting accents, hemiola effects, and metric surprises. Patterns are not tied to a specific scale, so you can swap scales at any time, and your pattern adapts instantly. The next menu is the bar count and all keys menu. The All Keys button toggle whether Tessitura automatically transposes your pattern through all 12 keys or keeps it in the current key. When modulating through all 12 keys, you might want to choose specific key centers for keys that have multiple enharmonic spellings. You can select your preferred spellings using these buttons here. You can also choose how long the exercise is going to be. Tessitura will make sure to keep repeating the pattern to fill the entire length that you choose using the bar count slider, from 1 bar to 32 bars. It will use the full range of your instrument, and when it reaches the end, it will add a retrograde of the pattern and continue repeating that sequence until all bars are completed. When you're playing in all keys, it's a good idea to add a break between key changes, to breathe or just to reset your position. For example, if you're working with an ascending pattern, switching to a new key might force you to jump from the highest part of your range to the lowest. To make that transition easier, you can remove a few notes at the end of each key cycle. Use this button to remove 1, 2, or more notes at the end of the pattern. If you remove just the last note, the new final note becomes a quarter note instead of an eighth note. Adjust this setting and find the value that works best for your flow. The next menu is the randomizer. This is a powerful and fun tool that creates random patterns using any of the 2048 scales available in Tessitura. It's a great way to discover fresh ideas for composition or improvisation. Not only can it inspire new lines, but it can also help you start a new journey to mastery when you find a scale worth exploring. And it's incredibly easy to use. Just click the Surprise Me button and listen to what comes up. If you find something you like, you can see if the current scale pairs well with a chord and listen to the random pattern in that harmonic context. Once you've landed on something interesting, like a scale, a rhythmic pattern, or a time signature, you can lock those parameters using these checkboxes. Then hit Surprise Me again, and Tessitura will randomize everything else while keeping your selections unchanged. Tessitura also intelligently adjusts rhythmic patterns to fit the current time signature. But if you want to explore truly unexpected and unusual results, enable the Make Rhythm Extra Random option. The next menu is the mixer, where you adjust the volume levels for each instrument in the accompaniment. The melody track is the one that plays the actual pattern. So if you want to practice on your own without hearing the pattern, simply turn the melody volume all the way down. It's also worth noting that the settings in this panel, your custom volume levels, are saved in the performance header for the exercise. So when you load an exercise and Tessitura asks whether to load the performance data, remember that the mixer levels are included. If you choose not to load the performance data, the current mixer settings will stay exactly as they are. Next is the Instruments panel. This is where you set the accompaniment groove and choose your instrument. To load a different groove from the groove catalog, just click this button and select one of the available grooves for the current time signature. If the groove you choose has swinging eighth notes, Tessitura will automatically adjust the swing value in the Patterns panel so that the eighth notes in your pattern match the groove's swing feel. You can also change the sounds used in the accompaniment track here. The lead sound is the one used for playing the melodic pattern. The groove and selected sounds are saved as part of the performance data for each exercise. You can fine-tune the MIDI range for the comping chords using these sliders. Adjusting these values will change how the chords are voiced in the accompaniment track, so you can better match your preferred register or style. Now let's look at the instrument section. Choose the instrument you're practicing with from this list. Tessitura will automatically adjust for your instrument's default clef, transposition, and range. For example, if you select alto saxophone, the transposition will change to E-flat and the pattern will instantly refresh to reflect that. You can also choose between standard range and extended range. Standard range keeps most notes within the 5 lines of the staff, with fewer ledger lines. Extended range uses the full playable range of the selected instrument. And if you play an instrument that's not listed, or you just want to practice using a different clef or custom range, you can manually adjust all the settings to fit your needs. The next menu is the Preferences menu. Here you can customize how Tessitura spells enharmonic notes using these 3 buttons. If you want Tessitura to use the most theoretically accurate spellings, select Allow All. With this option, you might see double sharps or double flats, depending on the scale you're working with. If you prefer to avoid double accidentals, choose the second option. This will prevent double sharps and double flats, but you may still see enharmonic spellings like C-flat or E-sharp. To avoid all complex accidentals entirely, choose Simplify All Accidentals. This option keeps note spellings as clean and readable as possible. You can also personalize the score layout using these sliders. This is especially helpful if the current pattern has a wide range and you want to reduce notation collisions. These settings will also apply when you print the score. Tessitura can display the step skip pattern and rhythmic pattern as a subtitle on the right side of the staff. If you'd like that information included in the score, enable this switch. This will also carry over to the printed version. And finally, you can choose to color the first note of each pattern iteration in red and any enclosure notes in orange. This is a useful visual aid to help you distinguish where each pattern begins and which notes are approach tones, rather than part of the scale. You can adjust the intensity of the color using this slider. The next menu is the Practice and Notifications menu. If you want Tessitura to help keep you motivated, enable this button. Tessitura will then send you practice reminders based on the cadence you choose here, daily, alternate day, or weekly. It's a great way to stay on track and maintain your practice routine. Finally, you have the Save, Share, and Print buttons. Use the Save button to store the current exercise in your personal catalog so you can revisit it anytime. Tap the Share button to send the exercise to other Tessitura users or to share it between your own macOS and iOS devices. And use the Print button to print the current exercise with all your current layout and notation preferences applied.